Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutter, HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. My first one since Hurricane Michael. My voice not in the best shape, but I'm doing good. I'm doing well and doing good. Doing good is when you're doing something good for others, right? And I think the work that I have done in association with my colleagues is going to help others in the future. But I'm also doing well, considering the lack of sleep and everything else. But this is nothing. I'm just tired, voice is a little worn out, and I'm worn down physically, emotionally a little bit. But this is nothing compared to what people are going through in Florida and even across the Carolinas here in the wake of Florence. So do not have sympathy for me. I'm doing fine. But I sound like I'm not doing fine. So I just want to put it into context. Everything is good. Okay? So let's take a look at what's happening in the tropics. It's been a few days. There's only one mark and not enough of me to go around. And there was a day or two where we didn't have connectivity and my voice was almost completely gone. And so this is an improvement. So thanks for waiting. It's good to be back. And, as such, we have some stuff to talk about here. This is Invest Area 94L, and it will be heading westward and towards Central America, the coast of Honduras, in towards Belize. Heavy rainfall is the main threat. We can see that here on the satellite animation from Tropical Tidbits. There it is right there. Really don't see this developing much. It may try to become a depression as it moves across just off the north coast, perhaps, of Honduras. But again, the main issue with this, because of where it's located over very warm water, high ocean heat content and high precipitable water values means a lot of rain associated with this as it moves on towards the west over time. You can also see Tropical Storm Tara here in the eastern Pacific, moisture streaming up and around this very large and prominent feature, that southeast ridge that we've had in place for a long time now. And I think this is going to stick around for the most part for the next couple of weeks or so before we really get some decent cold fronts in here. It'll come and go, but overall the pattern is ridge over the east and trophy, stormy pattern over the west, and that's where the colder temperatures are going to be. So what's that have to do with the tropics? That means this area is still open for business for something to develop, and I think we're going to get one, maybe two more storms, probably hurricanes as well, before the season is over. And I will show you why I think that in just a moment. So a different perspective here of the eastern Pacific, very active monsoon trough kind of feature, just a large area like the grapevine, and it extends all the way over into the Caribbean. And you get that sort of cyclonic gyre setting up, the Central American gyre still going strong, the one that gave us the devastating hit from Michael. And we're going to have to watch this because this whole area favorable and probably getting more so with the passage of another active Kelvin wave. I'll show you that towards the end here before we get through the month of October. And there's Tara bringing rainfall to portions of Pacific Mexico. And I do think we'll see another development down here, which will scoot along the coast of Mexico as well. So we have a lot to talk about. Hurricane season does not stop. We saw, Florence, we thought, wow, that was bad enough with all the flooding especially. And then we topped it by several degrees, if you will, of, levels of destruction from Michael. So the anomalies, we haven't looked at this in a while. Check this out. Pretty interesting. We have the El Nino coming on in the Pacific. Definitely a day late and $1 short to help out with the Atlantic. So much for strong wind shear. And usually the El Ninos don't affect the Gulf. So maybe it's not fair for me to even say that. But certainly we did not have an El Nino impact the heart of the hurricane season from late August through now. Because it had two devastating landfalls, and it's not like it just chopped all of that off. In the Atlantic, that's an interesting warm AMO signal trying to come back. We will see how long that lasts, but definitely no cold anomalies here in the main development region of any appreciable level. And even the Gulf of Mexico is still remarkably running above average. One little streak there of below average anomalies showing up. We'll look at this again in a week and see if there's any change, but very, very warm compared to the long-term average across the Gulf still and the Northwest Atlantic. All right, so unfortunately, we do have to face the reality that it's still hurricane season. And we have these folks that I rely on. Dr. Ventris is one of them. Ben Knoll, I've mentioned him before. And we're seeing this signal that another strong Kelvin wave to pass the Atlantic to close out October, maybe a late season Atlantic tropical cyclone, something to watch. And it's hard to describe exactly, well, what are we looking at here? What does this graphic show? Well, here's your, these areas are your longitudes, right? And so the Atlantic basin is going to be roughly through this area. And the forecast shows pretty good Kelvin wave right there. It's just a way to visualize that convective energy in the atmosphere is forecast to head towards the Atlantic basin as we close out the month. Okay, this is currently where we are now, right there. And this is, several days down the road, and there it comes. So we have to watch out for that in the coming days to close out the month. Maybe we'll get Dr. Ventris on to talk about it sometime next week. We'll see. So if we look at the models, let me just back this up and put this into motion. This is just a quick look at the next 7 days from the GFS at the 5,000 foot level. There's this Central American gyre still holding on in the Central American region, obviously the Western Caribbean. Luckily, it doesn't show much in the way of development from 94L as it moves in. But all this green in here is vorticity in the atmosphere, energy in the atmosphere that's present. It's there. And so this is going to be a rainy situation, and you'll have these periods of time where something tries to develop off of one of those areas within the larger gyre. And that's what happened with Michael. It finally got a piece of vorticity to swing around. Another one came out of the Central America, and they got together here, and then off it went, and we know the rest. So, the GFS indicating development south of Mexico, that would be, let's see what comes after T. U, right? The U storm, whatever that is. And it looks pretty potent. And then we just have to see, what else tries to get going through here over the next week or two. Some signals are indicating that maybe we will have some development. We need a break, though. Real quick, as quick as I can, you've probably seen the unbelievable dramatic video from Mexico Beach from the GoPro cam. If you haven't, it's on the YouTube channel. Be sure to check it out. That's one form of data. Obviously, you can extract data from video using photogrammetry techniques and just looking at it. You can figure out how things happened. There's also, of course, the meteorological data, and that's something that I am very, very interested in. It's the most expensive aspect of my work. And because the equipment is so high-end, RM Young, you ought to look them up. It's Young USA, Y-O-U-N-G, USA.com. That's their website. And look at the prices on some of these things. The anemometers, the pressure sensors, we're talking thousands of dollars for one setup. Where did I have it set up? Well, with the help of my good friend and assistant Brent, who came up from St. John to help out again, we set the weather station up right there, right on top of the Hathaway Bridge at the top, a little over 110 feet we do estimate above the bay here. And you could not sight it, set it up in a spot any better. Perfect exposure to the wind. And that's where it was set up. So the anemometer and pressure sensor was here, our hotel roughly over here. Okay? And then let's look at the radar imagery. And we can kind of figure out, there's my location. This was just before noon on Wednesday. Look at that eye wall. There's Mexico Beach. That's where we had a camera. And we were up here, the anemometer, somewhere over here, roughly. Okay? So let's move this forward a little bit. Zoom back out. You can see the progression, 11:56. So here we are, 21 minutes later. And I haven't moved. I'm not moving. We thought about driving out here to get to the eye to launch the weather balloon. but we felt like that would have been a death sentence driving through that core. Early on, it looked like the eye could go right over us, but it didn't, and we missed it, and so be it. But you know what? I'm still young. There will still be intense hurricanes, and we will launch the balloon in the eye of an intense hurricane in the daytime one day. You can't win them all. But what we did accomplish was absolutely extraordinary. So you see, the core now is easily passing right over the weather station with northeast winds there screaming across the region, and boy, it was something else to see in person, let me tell you. Slightly different perspective, just giving you an idea. The eye passing over Tyndall Air Force Base, Highway 98 through here. Several chasers got video and pictures of the eye. Certainly one of the most extraordinary things in the history of the world to see, no doubt. But, you know, look at what's happening here. That onshore flow directly into Mexico Beach in the right front quadrant of a Category 4.9 hurricane. Probably a 5 when it's all said and done. That's my opinion. We'll talk about that later, too. So as we progress through time, a close-up here. The weather station is just right over here. Very high reflectivity values going across. But look at down here, Mexico Beach, perpendicular to the shore. Unbelievable. And just the propulsion of the surge in the video is going to be studied for years to come. We're going to be able to enhance it. I mean, we're just getting started. So the video is one thing, but I want to show you this because it's so important. This is the wind and pressure trace. And you see Josh Morgerman does the pressure traces from his work. And it's very, very critical to have as much data as possible. I understood that several of the high-profile research teams did not show up for this one. I'm not going to mention any by name, but apparently they were like, yeah, it probably isn't going to do much. We didn't have time to get ready, and whatever. Millions of dollars of funding and equipment, and they didn't show up. We have a couple $1,000s of funding per month if we're lucky, and we showed up, and here's what we got. And yeah, I'm going to brag a little bit because this is critical. If we look at where this was located in relation to the eye, we got down to just about 941 and some change millibars for the lowest pressure, several wind gusts above 100 miles per hour, and the sustained wind, 1 minute average, finally measuring hurricane force winds in the average category, the sustained wind. Do you know how hard it is to do that? It truly is. And that shows you the strength of the core of Hurricane Michael. The highest 1 minute sustained that I could see was a little over 93 miles per hour. The average wind was 93 miles per hour. That's incredible. And you say, well, that's not even a Cat 2. That's not the point. The point is there were gusts in there way higher, right? Some of them were lower, obviously. That's how you get an average. It's 60 observations divided by 60, and that's what you get. And look at all those gusts over 100 miles per hour. Densely packed in there, with the peak gust being about 118. So we'll be sharing this with Hurricane Research Division so that we can understand the gradient of where the weather station was over here versus when the core came over here. There is a lot to learn from this, and I am very proud that myself, Brent, the people that have supported me to get here, my programmer Jason, who wrote the software to even talk to the equipment and get it back to our app and our server. Everything worked. There was no failure. Everything worked. The only thing we didn't get to do was get in the eye to deploy the weather balloon. But that was because we chose life. That's the way I look at that. And I'm here to tell you about it. This is what it looked like the moment we walked up on the equipment in Mexico Beach. We walked all through the night across mountains of debris. Actually helped a couple of people that were victims of it. That's a whole other story. And picked up the box. This is the live streaming box that has the Nest Cam. And this is the GoPro case, the GoPro inside of there. And these are ratchet straps. No zip ties here, ladies and gentlemen. If you know my work, I usually zip tie. Nope. I brought Brent, who is the ratchet strap master. I'm telling you, that guy can put a ratchet strap on something, and he did. This is not how we set it up, obviously. Something hit the case. You'll see that when we show you the video in the documentary. And yet it stayed up. And this is just a wooden telephone pole at the Exxon station right across from Toucans. So if you haven't seen that video, be sure you check it out. Wow, what an experience. So I'm going to be working on the documentary very soon, and I will announce what I'm going to do. A lot of it's going to go through Patreon, because I think that is set up perfectly to gain support to fund the documentary. I mean, remember, this is my job, all right? I do get paid a little bit from the Weather Channel to license my video, but I don't get a paycheck every week, okay? So I'm going to be relying on you folks. If you want me around next year and the year after, we have to be able to support this. I don't have $1 million sitting in the bank that I draw off of and whatever. So I'm going to be real honest about it. We have to keep going. We have to grow. And to help make that happen, I'm going to do a lot of the documentary's growth and how things are going and updates and everything on Patreon. I will announce when my voice is back, because I'm going to do like a video where you see me and everything of exactly what my plan is. So get ready. I'm going to be working on it, and it'll be the most incredible work that I've ever done. I can guarantee you that. All right, well, I made it through without my voice completely collapsing. Thanks for listening. I know it was painful. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I should be a lot better even tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.